Top 8 most famous sunken ship in history. When we talk about shipwrecks, the first thing that comes to mind is the Titanic. In this video, I have collected 8 of the most famous shipwrecks. Ship Queen Anne's Revenge. The ship was built in 1710. It was originally named Concorde. In 1713, it was sold to Spain, and then the ship was bought by France. In 1717, when the Concorde was sailing its usual route, under the command of French slave traders, that was the purpose of the ship. It was captured by pirates led by Edward Teach. There's an opinion that the French could smash both pirate ships to smithereens. However, everyone had already heard about Blackbeard and his vengeance, so the sailors got scared and laid down their arms at the first order. When Blackbeard captured the ship, he increased the number of cannons to 40, refitted the ship internally, and renamed it Queen Anne's Revenge. In June 1718, the ship ran aground at the coast of North Carolina. Archaeologists managed to leave over 220,000 lead bullets and buckshots from the ship, as well as 25 cannons, many of which were loaded. But the biggest artifact is an anchor, which weighs about 1.5 tons. Swedish warship Vasa, also Vasa. Vasa is a Swedish warship. It was laid down in the spring of 1626. On August 10, 1628, the ship set off on its first and last voyage. There were more than 100 crew members on board, as well as relatives of the sailors. When the Vasa was towed into the open water out of the harbour of Stockholm, the captain raised 4 sails out of 10 and gave the order to fire a salute from the cannons. At this time, a gust of strong wind tilted the ship, but then it levelled off. A second gust of wind tilted the ship more, so that it scooped up water through the open cannons port of the lower tier and flooded on board. After passing only 1,300 meters, Vasa sank in a few minutes. The boat rushed to the rescue, but many could not be saved. Among the 170 drowned were women and children of sailors. In the late 1940s, officer Anders Fransen decided to find the site where the Vasa sank and raise it. On August 25, 1956, the ship was discovered near the Backholmen Island at the depth of 32 meters. Despite the fact that the frigate lay at the bottom for 333 years, it is perfectly preserved. Now Vasa is in a museum on the island of Djurgården in the center of Stockholm and serves as an exhibit. Another unique exhibit of this museum is sails. They are now the oldest surviving sails in the world. Edmund Fitzgerald. In June 1958, the largest freighter in the Great Lakes was built at the Michigan shipyard. Subsequently, it became famous far beyond their borders. However, the ship suffered an unfortunate setback. Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior, USA. The reason for this outcome was an overload, an extra 5,000 tons of ore, and a storm. The ship hit a sandbag and went to the bottom. Bismarck. Bismarck is a ship of the German Navy. It was considered a masterpiece of military art. However, it served Germany for a very short time, 3 months. During its only cruise in May 1941, Bismarck sank the British cruiser Hood in the Danish Strait. The death of the Hood was extremely painful in the British Admiralty. Therefore, after this event, the British fleet began to hunt for the Bismarck. After 3 days, it was gone. Arizona. This ship is considered one of the most revered ships in history. It was launched on June 19, 1915. The Arizona was sunk during a Japanese air raid on December 7, 1941 at Pearl Harbor. The battleship was hit by 4 powerful bombs. About 1,177 people died out of 1,400. Currently, at the crash site, the remains of the ship have been turned into a memorial. Marie Rose. Museum Marie Rose dedicated to the sunken ship. Marie Rose is the oldest on the list because it sank back in 1545. At that time, it was considered the most beautiful ship. Henry VIII called it the purest flower of all ships that ever sailed. Only 300 years later, in 1836, fishermen discovered the site of the sinking of the Marie Rose. By 1982, most of the ships remained had been discovered piece by piece from the bottom of the Solent. They are now in the Portsmouth Museum. Ship Umbria. On May 29, 1940, the Umbria departed from Messina and was bound for Eritrea, an Italian colony in East Africa. On board of the ship there were about 360,000 bombs, 60 boxes with detonators and other ammunition with a total weight of 8,600 tons. Umbria was intercepted by British ships. Therefore, the captain of the ship makes a difficult decision to sink the Umbria. On his order, the ship sank in the Wingate Reef area, carrying with it all the deadly cargo to the bottom. According to rumors, for this action, the entire crew of the ship spent 6 years in British POW camps. Titanic. It is difficult to find a person who has not heard anything about this ship and has not watched the film by James Cameron, thanks to which the Titanic became popular and is still the most famous ship in history. Let us remind you that the Titanic sank on April 15, 1912, killing 1,496 people. The search for the site of the shipwreck began immediately after the tragedy and took 73 years. The wreckage of the Titanic was first discovered by Robert Ballard's expedition in 1985. They now rest at the depth of 3,750 meters. Don't forget to subscribe and like it. Thanks for sharing and bye-bye.